If you're over 60, this one healthy habit could silently raise your risk of a stroke while you sleep. No pain, no warning, just one moment you're watching TV, and the next, you can't move your arm or remember your name. As a brain doctor, I've seen far too many older adults, people who don't smoke, who try to eat right, who exercise, suffer life-changing strokes not because of what they did wrong, but because of something they thought was helping them. Not supplements, not medications, but nuts. Yes, really, nuts. Every day, millions of seniors snack on almonds, walnuts, pistachios, and more, believing they're doing something good for their heart, their memory, or their blood sugar. And while many nuts do offer health benefits, certain types, especially when eaten at the wrong time or in the wrong amount, can quietly disrupt circulation, spike blood pressure, and even form blood clots while you sleep. Today, I'll walk you through 9 common nuts and seeds that could be harming your brain without you knowing. If you or someone you love eats nuts regularly, this video might just save a life. So grab a seat. What you're about to hear will shock you. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. If you enjoy this video, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. 1. Brazil nuts. The silent stroke. Trigger hiding in your pantry. As a brain doctor, I've learned that the smallest things, habits we don't even question, can carry the biggest risks. What shocks me most is not always the illnesses I diagnose, but the everyday choices that quietly set the stage for disaster. And among them, Brazil nuts are one of the most underestimated. They look harmless, just a couple of creamy, crunchy pieces in a bowl of mixed nuts, packed with healthy fats, a little protein, and even touted for their supposed immune-boosting benefits. You'll find them in trail mixes, in heart-healthy diet lists, and in many kitchens across America. But if you're over 60, those same Brazil nuts can quietly raise your risk of stroke overnight without you ever knowing. Here's what most people never hear. Brazil nuts contain selenium, an essential mineral, but in very high concentrations. In fact, just 2 Brazil nuts a day can give you more than 200 micrograms of selenium, already above the daily recommended limit for older adults. Selenium is not water-soluble. Your body doesn't flush out the extra. It stores it in your liver, in your blood, in your brain. Over time, or even within a few weeks, too much selenium can trigger a dangerous condition called selenosis, characterized by fatigue, dizziness, nausea, abnormal heart rhythms, and most dangerously, changes in blood clotting. What does that mean in plain terms? It means that selenium makes your platelets more reactive, more likely to clump together, and that clumping can lead to blood clots, tiny ticking time bombs moving through your bloodstream. Now, imagine that clot reaching your brain in the early morning hours when your blood pressure is already naturally rising. You're asleep. You feel fine. But within seconds, that clot lodges in a narrow artery and blocks blood flow. A silent stroke. And you wake up unable to move one side of your body. Or worse, you don't wake up at all. Let me tell you about one of my patients, Mr. Henry Carlisle, 78, a retired school bus driver from Ohio. A proud man, always in control of his health. He didn't drink, didn't smoke. Every morning, he made a healthy smoothie and added just a few nuts for energy. For over 6 months, he unknowingly included 3 to 5 Brazil nuts daily, thinking they were good for his heart. He believed he was doing everything right. Then one morning, his wife found him slurring his words. His right hand couldn't grip the coffee mug. We rushed him in. CT scan confirmed an ischemic stroke caused by a clot in the left middle cerebral artery. Blood tests revealed selenium levels almost twice the safe upper limit and platelets in an activated, hypercoagulable state. Henry survived, but barely. He's now in a wheelchair, and every day he tells me, "Doc, I just wish someone had told me. I was trying to eat healthy. I never thought a nut could nearly kill me." And that's the tragedy, because this isn't rare. I've seen it time and again. The things seniors turn to for better health, nuts, vitamins, supplements, can backfire without warning if we don't understand the risks. If you're eating Brazil nuts regularly, especially at night or alongside other selenium-rich foods or multivitamins, it's time to pause. Seniors only need 55 micrograms of selenium a day, easily met through food like tuna, eggs, or grains. One Brazil nut contains over 90 micrograms. You don't need them. And if you're on blood thinners or have a history of clots, these nuts aren't just risky, they're dangerous. Please, don't wait until your body sends a loud message in the form of a stroke. Your brain may not get a second chance. But here's the shocking part. Brazil nuts aren't the only so-called super nut with a dark side. There's another one, sold in almost every grocery store, praised as a heart-healthy snack, and yet it quietly raises your nighttime blood pressure like a loaded gun. Let's talk about almonds. If you're still watching and finding these insights helpful, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're with me. Now let's move on to point number 2. 2. Almonds, the salty snack that can trigger a stroke in your sleep. I still remember the morning Mrs. Judith Allen, a 79-year-old retired schoolteacher from Pennsylvania, was wheeled into my clinic by her son. Her speech was slow, her right hand trembled slightly, and she was struggling to remember simple words: spoon, door, window. She hadn't had a major stroke, not yet, but something had changed overnight. Her son said she'd been in good health, no smoking, no junk food. She was walking daily, staying active, even doing crossword puzzles every morning. When I asked about supplements or diet changes, he proudly said, "Nothing unusual, just good choices. She snacks on almonds instead of candy." I nodded, but I asked, "What kind of almonds?" "Roasted, salted. She eats a little cup of them before bed every night. Says they help her sleep." Right then, a red flag went off in my mind. Almonds, when raw and unsalted, can be heart healthy in small amounts, but salted roasted almonds, especially eaten before bed, can create the perfect storm inside an aging body. And in Judith's case, that nightly handful became a silent trigger. Here's what most seniors don't realize. Our bodies process sodium differently as we age. After 60, kidney function naturally declines, blood vessels become less elastic, and our bodies become less efficient at managing fluid balance. A handful of salted almonds can contain over 200 milligrams of sodium, and when eaten at night, that sodium pulls water into the bloodstream, raising blood pressure while you're asleep. This spike in pressure stresses already fragile arteries, particularly in the brain. Combine that with dehydration, common in seniors overnight, and you've got a dangerous mix: thicker blood, higher pressure, and less flexible vessels. That's how blood clots form. In Judith's case, her labs showed elevated blood sodium, a mild but dangerous nocturnal blood pressure surge, and early signs of a transient ischemic attack, TIA, a warning stroke. Her CT scan revealed tiny, silent clots had likely formed during the night, all from a habit she thought was healthy. She looked at me and said, "I gave up cookies for almonds. I thought I was doing everything right." It's heartbreaking, because this is what no one tells you. Even healthy snacks can be dangerous if taken in the wrong form, at the wrong time, and in the wrong amount, especially for an older brain and heart. Salted nuts aren't just a little salty. They're often coated in hidden sodium, flavor enhancers, and preservatives that affect fluid retention and blood pressure. Eat them late in the day, and they disrupt your body's natural nighttime regulation, making the early morning the most vulnerable time for strokes, even riskier. And it's not just salt. Roasted almonds are often heated in unhealthy oils, which can trigger inflammation in the lining of your blood vessels, fueling clot formation without you even knowing it. Judith is recovering well. We stopped the almonds, adjusted her blood pressure meds, and increased her hydration. But she still asks me every visit, how many other seniors are making the same mistake I did? If you're eating almonds, especially roasted or salted, think twice. Portion matters, timing matters, and no nut, no matter how healthy it sounds, belongs in your bedtime routine unless you've cleared it with your doctor. Because what you do in the quietest moments right before bed can have the loudest consequences in the morning. And if almonds can silently spike your pressure and form clots, just wait until you hear what the creamiest nut of them all, the one often called the buttery brain food, is doing to older Americans' balance, memory, and blood flow without them suspecting a thing. 3. Macadamia nuts, the creamy snack that quietly disrupts blood flow to the aging brain. Most people think of macadamia nuts as luxurious, even indulgent, a buttery treat from Hawaii or those fancy cookie tins you get around the holidays. Smooth, rich, and packed with good fats, they've earned a reputation as brain food. But here's the part almost no one tells older adults. For seniors, especially those with hidden circulation issues, macadamia nuts can quietly interfere with the very blood flow your brain depends on, and the damage often begins while you sleep. Let me tell you about Mr. Eugene Parker, age 80, a retired high school band director from Ohio. He came to me after several concerning episodes. He'd wake up lightheaded, sometimes needing to steady himself before getting out of bed. A few times his balance was so off he stumbled into the dresser. His daughter thought it was just aging. His family doctor suspected inner ear problems. But when I examined him closely, I noticed subtle neurological changes, slight weakness on one side, memory lapses that hadn't been there 6 months ago, and a soft, almost imperceptible tremor in his right hand. I ordered a brain scan and blood work, and what we found surprised even him. He hadn't had a full stroke yet, but he was showing signs of chronic hypoperfusion, a medical term for reduced blood flow to the brain over time. And there were microclots, tiny obstructions in the brain's smallest vessels, forming silently. I asked him about his diet, and he proudly told me, "Every night before bed, I treat myself to a handful of macadamia nuts. I read they're heart healthy." That's when it clicked. Macadamia nuts are indeed rich in monounsaturated fats, the kind often praised in Mediterranean diets. But they're also extremely high in calories and dense in fats, which means they slow digestion and circulation, especially when eaten late in the evening. For younger people, this isn't a big issue. But in older adults, digestion slows, blood thickens slightly overnight, and blood vessels become less responsive. The result? Blood flow to the brain diminishes just enough to tip the balance, and clots begin to form. In Eugene's case, eating a handful of macadamia nuts, often 15 to 20 pieces, equal to over 200 calories of pure fat, was slowing his digestive system, thickening his blood, and triggering nocturnal blood pressure fluctuations. His brain, already vulnerable, couldn't adapt fast enough. Here's what most seniors don't realize. Nighttime is a critical window for brain health. That's when the brain restores, detoxifies, and regulates blood pressure. But if digestion is still active, particularly from high fat foods, your body diverts blood flow to the gut instead of the brain. It's like having a construction crew show up to work, but you sent them to the wrong site. Worse, macadamia nuts are often eaten in larger portions than other nuts. Because they're soft, creamy, and lightly salted, they go down easy. And before you know it, you've had 3 times what your body can safely process, especially if you're not moving afterward. Eugene's situation was reversible, but barely. We removed all nighttime snacks high in fat, increased his water intake during the evening, and added gentle morning movement to support circulation. Within 6 weeks, his balance improved, his memory stabilized, and he no longer felt the room spin when he opened his eyes. But he still remembers the fear. "Doc," he told me, "I thought a little treat couldn't hurt. I didn't know I was choking off the blood to my own brain." So if you're eating macadamia nuts at night, thinking they're helping your memory, please pause. Your brain doesn't need fat while you sleep. It needs steady, smooth circulation and calm digestion. Even the creamiest, most luxurious nut can become a silent threat in the wrong context. And if something as innocent as a handful of nuts can quietly reduce brain flow and form clots, imagine what a certain popular snack nut from the South, beloved for its sweet crunch and comfort, might be doing to your kidneys and your arteries without a single symptom. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're here. Now let's keep going with point number 4. 4. Cashews, the comfort nut that can quietly strain your kidneys and form deadly brain clots. If there's one nut that feels like comfort food, it's the cashew. Creamy, soft, just the right hint of sweetness. Americans love them. Whether sprinkled on a salad or grabbed by the handful from a pantry jar, they seem innocent enough. And to be honest, they're often marketed as heart healthy and cholesterol friendly. But what I've learned in my years as a brain doctor and what I've seen repeatedly in my older patients has changed the way I view this popular snack. Because for older adults, cashews can quietly trigger a chain reaction in the body that starts in the kidneys, travels through the bloodstream, and ends in the brain with devastating consequences. Let me tell you about Mrs. Donna Mitchell, 74 years old, a retired church pianist from Georgia. She was bright, independent, and full of humor. She told me she didn't believe in junk food and instead treated herself to good snacks. That included a small bowl of roasted cashews every night after dinner. She believed they helped her with her energy and kept her full before bed. She even kept them in a crystal bowl next to her recliner. But Donna came to me after a frightening episode. One morning, she woke up unable to grip her coffee mug. Her hand just wouldn't close. She felt lightheaded and noticed her speech was just a little off. Her daughter rushed her to urgent care. CT scans showed early signs of ischemia, reduced blood flow to a portion of her brain. No major stroke yet, but she was dangerously close. What concerned me even more was her elevated blood pressure, mild dehydration, and rising creatinine levels, all pointing to kidney stress and poor circulation. So what was the link? Cashews are high in a compound called oxalate. Most people don't think twice about it, but oxalate is something that can quietly accumulate in your body, especially when kidney function slows with age. As we get older, our kidneys become less efficient at filtering waste. Oxalates can crystallize in the kidneys, forming small blockages that reduce function, limit fluid balance, and increase the thickness of the blood. The result? Dehydrated, sluggish blood that doesn't move smoothly through the tiny arteries feeding your brain. It forms clots, not always big enough to cause a massive stroke, but often enough to create mini strokes, memory loss, or loss of coordination. And that's exactly what was happening to Donna. She hadn't touched alcohol or fried foods in years, but her cashew habit, repeated night after night, was stressing her kidneys, raising her blood pressure while she slept, and slowly setting the stage for a clot to reach her brain. She was stunned. Cashews? I thought they were safe, she said. My doctor never told me to watch for that. And that's the problem. No one tells older adults that their kidneys can no longer handle foods the same way they did at age 40 or 50. Cashews aren't poison, but they're dense, high in oxalates, and often coated with salt or oil, which adds even more pressure to aging systems already struggling to stay balanced. Since then, Donna has made changes. We swapped cashews for a small serving of fresh berries and a glass of warm herbal tea in the evenings. Her blood pressure stabilized. Her brain scans showed no further damage, but the fear never quite left her. I had no idea I was doing something dangerous every night. I just wanted a little comfort before bed. If you or someone you love is eating cashews regularly, especially in the evening, stop and ask yourself, is your body still equipped to process that richness? Are your kidneys working like they used to? Because once blood gets thick and pressure builds in the dark hours of the night, a single clot can change your life before sunrise. And if you thought kidney stress was bad, just wait until we look at the most common TV snack of all, the one that sneaks into your daily routine and carries enough hidden sodium to silently rupture a blood vessel in your brain. 5. Sunflower seeds, the salty snack that can quietly cause a brain vessel to burst. In America, we don't think twice about snacking. It's part of our culture, something to do during a ball game, a road trip, or an evening TV show. And among the most popular of those snacks? Sunflower seeds. They're nostalgic, crunchy, and for many seniors, even comforting. But what if I told you that these tiny seeds, especially when salted, could quietly set the stage for a life-altering brain bleed? Mr. Harold Winters, age 76, a retired postman from Nebraska, came into my office after a terrifying incident. He'd been sitting in his recliner watching a late-night baseball game when he suddenly developed a severe headache, sharp, pulsing, and unlike anything he'd ever felt before. His wife noticed his speech slurring, and by the time paramedics arrived, he was vomiting and confused. At the ER, imaging confirmed the worst: a hemorrhagic stroke, a rupture inside the brain caused by elevated pressure, not from trauma, not from a fall, from an internal surge in blood pressure. Harold didn't smoke, he didn't drink, his cholesterol was controlled, but when I asked him about his daily habits, one thing stood out. He ate a large handful of salted sunflower seeds every single evening. It was his way of relaxing. He kept a giant plastic tub next to his recliner and mindlessly cracked shells and chewed seeds during every game, every show, every quiet moment. It's easy to think, they're just seeds. What harm could they do? But here's the hard truth. Salted sunflower seeds can deliver more sodium than a bag of potato chips, especially when eaten in large quantities. A small serving, just a quarter cup, can contain over 170 milliliters of sodium, and most people eat far more than that without realizing it. For seniors, who are often more sensitive to sodium due to changes in kidney function and vascular elasticity, this is a ticking time bomb. As we age, our blood vessels lose flexibility. The walls become thinner, more fragile. High sodium intake increases blood volume and pressure. Over time, this can weaken the arteries in the brain, until one day, under enough stress, one of them bursts. That's exactly what happened to Harold. The seeds didn't feel dangerous, but they silently formed the backdrop for a surge of pressure that ruptured a vessel deep in his brain. And it's not just sodium. Sunflower seeds are also high in omega-6 fatty acids, which, while necessary in small amounts, can promote inflammation when consumed in excess, especially without enough omega-3s to balance them. That inflammation further damages the lining of blood vessels, making them more prone to clot formation or rupture. Harold survived his stroke, but not without consequences. He walks with a cane now. His speech is slower. His wife reads the mail for him, and his days of driving are over. He told me with tears in his eyes, "I wish someone had told me sooner that something so small could do this." That's the danger with foods we consider harmless. It's not just the food itself. It's how often we eat it, how much, and how silently it affects our aging bodies. For seniors, the line between snack and risk is thinner than we think. If you or someone you love has made salted sunflower seeds a daily habit, especially in the evening or while sedentary, it's time to reconsider. Switch to unsalted, limit the portion, or replace them altogether with something that supports your brain, not strains it. Because while seeds are small, the consequences of misuse are anything but. And if you thought sunflower seeds were risky, just wait until we talk about the brain health nut that's being pushed on seniors in fancy supplement bottles, while quietly damaging the very nerves it claims to protect. 6. Walnuts. The brain food that can quietly disrupt sleep, spike pressure, and form blood clots overnight. We've all heard it, walnuts are good for your brain. From magazine covers to supplement ads, this nut has been glorified as a miracle food for memory, focus, and aging. And it's not entirely wrong. Walnuts are rich in omega-3s, antioxidants, and compounds that support brain health. But here's what I need every older adult in America to understand. Even a good thing becomes dangerous when it's taken at the wrong time, in the wrong way, or in the wrong body. Let me tell you about Mrs. Carol Benton, 81 years old, a retired nurse from Wisconsin. Carol was sharp, well-read, and deeply committed to taking care of her health in retirement. She walked every day, stayed socially active, and avoided processed food. But a few months before she came to see me, she'd started experiencing early morning dizziness, followed by brief confusion, and one time a terrifying episode where she couldn't remember her daughter's name for nearly 10 minutes. She was terrified it was dementia. Her blood pressure was up and down, and she said her head just didn't feel clear when she woke up. Her labs were mostly normal, but when I asked her about her nighttime habits, she smiled and said, "Oh, nothing bad, just a small bowl of walnuts before bed. I read they're great for the brain." That's when the puzzle came together. Walnuts do contain healthy fats, yes, but they're also extremely energy-dense, high in calories, and slow to digest, especially when consumed in the evening. And for an older body, particularly one that slows down at night, that seemingly healthy snack can quietly cause digestive strain, interfere with blood sugar balance, and elevate overnight blood pressure, all while you're sleeping. Here's what's even more alarming. The body diverts blood to the digestive system to break down fatty foods like walnuts, which means less blood is available for the brain during a critical time, deep sleep. When the brain needs steady circulation to clean itself, regulate pressure, and maintain cognitive balance. In older adults, this redirection can be just enough to trigger a temporary drop in brain perfusion, making the brain more vulnerable to small clots, especially if other conditions are present: mild dehydration, poor sleep posture, irregular heartbeat. In Carol's case, that nightly bowl of walnuts, just 8 to 10 pieces, was slowing her digestion, slightly elevating her cortisol levels at night, and leading to morning blood pressure surges and unstable blood flow to the brain. A brain scan revealed tiny ischemic changes, signs of microclots forming over time, what we sometimes call silent strokes. She hadn't had a full-blown event yet, but she was on the edge, and she had no idea. I asked her why she chose walnuts at night, and she said what so many seniors say: "I thought they'd help my brain while I slept." That moment broke my heart because she was trying so hard to do the right thing and yet unknowingly pushing her brain closer to disaster. We changed her routine. No more nighttime fats. She now eats walnuts as part of a balanced breakfast paired with oats and berries. Her blood pressure has stabilized, and more importantly, her mornings are clear again. No dizziness, no confusion. But not everyone gets that chance. If you or someone you love eats walnuts or any nut at night, thinking it's good for the brain, please stop and rethink. Your brain doesn't need fat while you sleep. It needs balance. It needs hydration. It needs stable blood flow. Even something as wholesome as walnuts, when mistimed, can create the conditions for blood clots, pressure spikes, and silent brain injury. Because the brain isn't just vulnerable to what we forget, it's vulnerable to what we do too late, too much, or without knowing better. And if walnuts can quietly cause microclots and fog your mind by morning, imagine what happens when a so-called superfood seed, often used in smoothies and diet plans, begins absorbing fluid inside your body and silently blocks digestion, hydration, and blood flow to your brain. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're here. Now let's keep going with point number 7. 7. Chia seeds, the superfood that can quietly choke off hydration, digestion, and blood flow to your brain. For years, chia seeds have been marketed as one of nature's perfect foods. You see them everywhere, sprinkled over yogurts, blended into smoothies, stirred into oatmeal, and praised endlessly for fiber, omega-3s, and anti-aging properties. But what you may not know, what almost no one tells older adults, is that chia seeds can quietly become a serious threat inside your aging body, especially when consumed dry, in excess, or without proper hydration. This truth became heartbreakingly real for Mrs. Elaine Murphy, 75, a retired librarian from Oregon who came into my clinic complaining of strange morning symptoms. She told me she'd been waking up foggy-headed, often feeling lightheaded when standing, and sometimes having trouble finding words or finishing sentences. "It's like my brain's battery is only half full," she said. She had no prior history of stroke, no major red flags in her past, but her blood pressure was unstable in the mornings, and her lab results revealed early signs of dehydration and poor nutrient absorption. When I asked about her diet, she proudly said, "I've been adding chia seeds to everything. They're so good for me. I take them every morning and sometimes at night." I asked how she prepared them. She looked confused. "I just sprinkle them dry into my yogurt or cereal. I like the crunch." And there it was. You see, chia seeds absorb water up to 10 to 12 times their weight. That's their selling point in the wellness world. But here's what most people, especially seniors, are never told. When consumed dry or without enough fluid, chia seeds begin absorbing moisture inside your body, from your esophagus, your stomach, your intestines, and your bloodstream. This can cause them to swell internally, create blockages in digestion, slow gut motility, and in some cases, trigger mild internal dehydration. In older adults who already tend to drink less water, take medications that may act as diuretics, or have slower digestive transit times, this creates a silent storm. Dehydration thickens the blood. Slowed digestion diverts circulation to the gut. And over time, these conditions can reduce blood flow to the brain elevate nighttime blood pressure, and create an ideal environment for microclots to form, especially while you sleep. That's exactly what was happening to Elaine. The brain fog she described was the early sign of chronic cerebral hypoperfusion, a condition where the brain isn't getting enough consistent blood flow. Her chia habit, intended to fuel her body, was slowly draining it. A follow-up scan revealed tiny white matter changes in her brain, early signs of silent strokes, clots forming and resolving without her even knowing. We caught it just in time. We made a few crucial changes. No more dry chia. If she used it at all, it had to be fully soaked, at least 15 minutes in water or almond milk. We also increased her daily water intake and shifted her fiber sources to fruits and lightly cooked vegetables. Within weeks, her energy improved. Her mind felt clearer. She told me, "I never would have guessed something so small could hurt me so quietly." And she's not alone. Because the problem isn't just chia seeds, it's how they're used, without instruction, in bodies that are changing. Older digestive systems, kidneys, blood vessels, and brains don't respond the same way they did at 40 or 50. What's harmless or even helpful for younger adults can be risky for those over 65, and no one's putting that on the label. So if you're sprinkling chia seeds into your breakfast or smoothie, ask yourself, are they fully soaked? Am I drinking enough water? Because your brain's circulation, hydration, and clarity depend on it. And when blood thickens and slows overnight, it forms clots. And those clots don't always wait until morning to do their damage. Sometimes the things we do for wellness become the very habits that quietly steal our strength. But if you think chia seeds are deceptive, wait until you hear about the tiny golden miracle seed used for weight loss, fiber, and blood sugar. That may be quietly straining your kidneys and setting off alarm bells deep inside your brain's blood vessels. 8. Flaxseeds, the heart helper that can quietly back up your gut, thicken your blood, and form clots that threaten the brain. If there's one food that's been praised over and over again in wellness circles, especially among older Americans, it's flax seeds. Rich in fiber, omega-3s, and plant compounds like lignans, flax seeds are often labeled as the ultimate natural booster for digestion, heart health, and hormone balance. For years, patients have told me they've added it to their cereal, their yogurt, their smoothies, all in the name of healthy aging. But what many of them don't realize, and what most doctors never stop to warn them about, is that flax seeds, when not used properly, can quietly cause digestive blockages, disrupt blood flow, and in some cases, trigger dangerous clot formation that threatens the aging brain. Mrs. Lydia Monroe, age 83, a retired accountant from Minnesota, was the picture of discipline. She took care of herself meticulously, ate organic, walked every day, stayed away from sugar, and followed every article she could find on natural health. One of those articles recommended a tablespoon of ground flaxseed every day for regularity and brain protection. So she began sprinkling it into her morning oatmeal, then her afternoon soup, then again in her evening tea. She was taking nearly 3 tablespoons a day without even realizing it. At first, she felt great, but slowly, things changed. Lydia began to experience abdominal bloating, constipation, and fatigue, especially in the mornings. She also began feeling short of breath and dizzy when rising out of bed. Her energy dipped. Her memory became fuzzy. Then one morning, she woke up unable to focus her eyes. Her right hand felt heavy. She wasn't herself. Her daughter brought her to my clinic, and we immediately began a full workup. What we discovered was alarming. Her bowels were backed up, her hydration was poor, and her blood work showed thickened viscosity, meaning her blood was becoming too concentrated, too slow moving. the ideal environment for clot formation. A brain scan confirmed our fears. She had suffered a mild stroke, likely from a clot that formed overnight, possibly due to a combination of poor circulation and blood thickening in response to chronic dehydration and slowed digestion. So, how did flax seeds play a role? Flax seeds, particularly when consumed ground, are extremely high in soluble fiber. This fiber expands in the digestive tract, drawing water from the body to form a soft bulk that ideally helps move waste through the intestines. But in older adults, especially those who aren't drinking enough water or whose gut motility has slowed with age, that bulk can turn into a backup. Think of it like a clogged pipe. Instead of promoting flow, it begins to create pressure. The body starts redirecting fluid to try to move things along, leaving the bloodstream thicker and the circulatory system under strain. This thickened blood doesn't move as easily, particularly to the farthest, smallest arteries, like those in the brain. That's when clots form, quietly, fatally. 9. Pistachios, the fun snack that quietly raises blood pressure, increases inflammation, and forms brain clogging clots. Pistachios are one of those snacks that seem harmless, colorful, tasty, and almost playful. You crack the shell, pop it in your mouth, and keep going. They're often seen in candy bowls, party mixes, and even some heart-healthy snack bags. For many older Americans, pistachios are a familiar comfort, something you might snack on while watching the news or playing cards with friends. But what if I told you that for seniors, especially those with heart or blood pressure issues, this seemingly innocent nut could quietly be paving the way toward a stroke that hits with no warning at all? Mr. Ray Delaney, age 84, a retired accountant from Indiana, came into my office after a frightening event. One morning, he tried to button his shirt and couldn't quite coordinate his fingers. His speech felt thick, and he described a spinning sensation when standing up from bed. He hadn't fallen, his medications hadn't changed, he was otherwise healthy, walking daily and eating better than most his age, according to his daughter. But after reviewing his labs and running a brain scan, we found signs of transient ischemic attacks, TIAs, or mini strokes, happening silently during the night. Blood clots were forming, likely from small shifts in blood pressure and vascular inflammation. I reviewed his daily habits and asked about snacks. Ray casually smiled and said, "I love pistachios. I eat a bowl every night during Jeopardy." It didn't surprise me. Here's the truth most people never hear. Pistachios, while rich in some beneficial nutrients, are often sold salted, heavily salted. A single handful can contain over 250 milligallons of sodium, and most people eat far more than just one handful. For older adults, this level of sodium, especially taken in the evening, becomes a stealthy threat. As we age, our arteries lose elasticity, our kidneys filter less efficiently, our bodies retain more sodium and water, which directly increases blood volume and pressure. The brain, with its delicate network of small vessels, is incredibly sensitive to even minor fluctuations in pressure. One sharp rise during the early morning hours, a time when the body naturally experiences blood pressure spikes, can be all it takes for a fragile vessel to rupture or clog. It forms blood clots, or worse, causes a hemorrhagic stroke that alters your life in an instant. And pistachios come with another hidden danger for seniors. They are high in omega-6 fatty acids. While these fats aren't inherently bad, the American diet already contains far too much of them, especially compared to anti-inflammatory omega-3s. When omega-6 intake is too high, it promotes systemic inflammation, including inflammation inside the walls of your blood vessels. That inflammation makes your vessels more vulnerable, more likely to clot, narrow, or rupture under pressure. In Ray's case, his nighttime pistachio routine had become a silent contributor to overnight hypertension, vascular inflammation, and clotting. We stopped the pistachios immediately, reduced dietary sodium, and adjusted his medication timing to support better nighttime stability. Within a month, his symptoms disappeared, but the fear remained. I just never thought pistachios could hurt me, Ray said quietly. They made me feel like I was doing something good. I even read they were good for the heart. And that's the most dangerous myth of all. Just because something has health benefits doesn't mean it's safe for everyone or safe in every context, especially not for aging bodies where everything changes. How we absorb nutrients, how we eliminate waste, how our blood flows at night, how our hearts respond to salt, and how easily our brains can be injured by a clot the size of a grain of sand. If you're enjoying pistachios, especially the salted kind, every evening, it's time to take a serious look at what that habit is doing to your body. A comfort snack isn't worth the risk of losing your balance, your speech, or your independence. Because at this stage in life, it's not about giving things up. It's about knowing which small choices protect you and which ones can silently betray you. And if pistachios can raise your pressure, stir inflammation, and form clots while you're watching TV, just imagine what happens when all of these healthy habits pile up day after day, year after year. What if your entire supplement and snack routine, meant to help you, has been doing just the opposite? In the final section, we'll pull everything together and reveal how to truly protect your brain, not with pills or promises, but with something far more powerful. The hidden cost of healthy. What aging brains truly need to stay sharp, safe, and alive. After walking through 9 everyday nuts and seeds that millions of older Americans trust, often in the name of heart or brain health, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. You might even be wondering, if something as small and natural as a walnut or chia seed could harm me, what can I possibly trust anymore? And that right there is the question that brings us full circle. Because the issue isn't the nuts, it's not the seeds, it's not even your desire to stay healthy. The problem and the danger is when we assume that something natural is always safe, no matter our age, condition, or medication list. And for seniors, that assumption can be quietly deadly. Your body at 65, 75, or 85 isn't the same body it was at 40. Your digestion is slower. Your blood vessels are more fragile. Your kidneys filter differently. Your brain is more sensitive to fluctuations in blood pressure, hydration, and circulation. Your heart doesn't tolerate stress the same way it used to. These aren't weaknesses, they're facts of aging, but they require a new kind of wisdom, a deeper understanding of how the foods you eat interact with the systems that keep you alive. Each of the 9 foods we discussed, Brazil nuts, almonds, macadamia nuts, cashews, sunflower seeds, walnuts, chia seeds, flax seeds, and pistachios, has nutritional benefits. But in the hands of an aging body, even healthy foods can become hidden triggers for strokes, blood clots, and cognitive decline if they're eaten at the wrong time, like late at night, in the wrong form, dry, salted, honey roasted, or raw and unsoaked, in the wrong amount, which is easy when serving sizes are unclear, or combined with certain medications like blood thinners, diuretics, or heart meds. That's the lesson no pill bottle or food label ever tells you. And sadly, it's the truth too many seniors only discover after something terrible has already happened: a fall, a stroke, a moment of confusion, a memory lost forever. As a brain doctor who's worked with thousands of older patients, I've seen firsthand how subtle choices made at the kitchen table can turn into silent emergencies during the night. I've watched strong, independent men and women lose their ability to speak, walk, or remember their loved ones, not from some obvious mistake, but from quiet, well meaning habits that built up over time. That handful of salted pistachios, it seemed better than chips. That tablespoon of chia seeds, a fiber boost for your gut. That evening bowl of walnuts, brain food before bed. But what no one told you, what most doctors don't explain, is that when you're older, the margin of safety shrinks. You can no longer afford to eat blindly, trust blindly, or follow trends without asking how they fit into your body's reality. So, where does this leave you? It leaves you with clarity and with power. Because now you know the truth that not all healthy snacks are safe for older brains, that your timing, hydration, and serving size matter more than ever, that real food, prepared wisely, in simple amounts, at the right time of day, is still your best medicine. You don't need 20 supplements. You don't need exotic powders or superfood fads. What you do need is awareness, simplicity, and respect for how the aging body works. What I recommend to my patients is surprisingly gentle. Eat your fats earlier in the day, not late at night. Drink water steadily, not all at once, and avoid dehydration before bed. Pair fiber with moisture, always. Dry seeds in a dry gut are a silent trap. Go for balance over extremes. A few raw almonds in the morning are fine. A cup of salted trail mix at 10 p.m. is not. And most importantly, listen to your body. The whisper of dizziness, poor sleep, or brain fog is never just age. It's a signal. Don't ignore it. If you've been snacking on nuts and seeds without thinking twice, this isn't about fear. It's about waking up, about protecting your memory, your independence, and your life. You deserve better than assumptions. You deserve informed choices, grounded in science and shaped with care. Because when we're over 60, we are not just eating to live, we're eating to stay present, to stay sharp, to stay ourselves. And that's why I share these stories, not to scare you, but to remind you that your health is not something to gamble on, not even with something as small as a seed. So now ask yourself, what's in your kitchen that you've never questioned? What do you reach for at night that might not belong there anymore? What healthy habit is ready to be replaced by something truly safe, truly smart, truly senior friendly? Your brain is still listening, your heart is still working hard, and your next snack could either support them or slowly sabotage them. The choice now is yours. Let it be one that keeps you clear, strong, and very much alive. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey toward embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.